So, our discussion kicks off with a bold diplomatic clash. The Trump administration flat out dismisses Putin's idea that the UN should govern Ukraine while elections take place, right?
Exactly. And what's interesting is that Putin framed this proposal during his visit to a Russian nuclear submarine in Murmansk, insisting that Zelensky's mandate is
really
illegitimate.
striking stuff. Right, it's almost like he's trying to rewrite the rules of international legitimacy by comparing Ukraine to other regions like East Timor or parts of the former Yugoslavia.
Yep, that's definitely a bold strategy. And the White House, not to be outdone, points out that Ukraine's government is set by its own constitution and the will of the people, not by any external force, right?
Exactly. Yes, and while we're on the subject, Ukraine's constitution prevents holding elections during wartime despite Zelensky's term having expired last year.
That's a crucial point. It circles back to the contradiction in Putin's logic. He challenges a leader elected under these very conditions while proposing a temporary UN rule.
It's like expecting an Olympic athlete to compete on a playground. I mean, sure, you can draw some analogies, but insisting on UN governance immediately ignores Ukraine's own democratic framework.
Right, and I gotta say, that doesn't sit well with the majority of Ukrainians, as polls show strong trust in Zelensky's leadership. Absolutely. And while we're critiquing the proposals, there's another twist. The Trump administration is also entangled in a minerals deal with Ukraine, a deal that, oddly enough, could give the US a 50% stake in Ukraine's natural resources.
Yeah, that's another layer to this whole geopolitical chessboard. It really makes you wonder if these simultaneous negotiations, on one hand, the ceasefire talks over the Black Sea, on the other, the minerals arrangement, are part of a bigger strategy or just a hodgepodge of conflicting agendas.
That's a fair challenge. And as negotiations continue in places like Saudi Arabia, both Russian and Ukrainian delegations are feeling the pressure of international expectations, aren't they?
Precisely. But here's what really gets me. Zelensky's sharp retorts, accusing Russia for dragging out the war while simultaneously enduring attacks on energy targets in places like Kherson. It paints a picture of a deeply conflicted crisis.
Yep, and I think it underscores the fact that any suggestion of external governance seems frankly absurd given the state of affairs on the ground. In the end, the entire episode reflects just how messy international diplomacy can get when leaders use strong rhetoric and conflicting policies come into play.
Right, and it's a reminder that genuine peace talks need to be built on respect for sovereignty and an honest assessment of complex realities. Indeed, it's a whirlwind of high-stakes negotiations, power plays, and debates over legitimacy, leaving so many questions open for the future.
Yeah, it's definitely a situation worth keeping an eye on.